As she stepped off the bus, the crunch of gravel beneath her feet echoed through the stillness of the rural afternoon. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay, a morbid welcome to the forgotten town of Ravens Peak. Emily had always been drawn to such places, where the veil between the worlds seemed thin, where the whispers of the dead lingered on the wind. Her eyes adjusted slowly to the fading light, and she took in the desolate main street. The few buildings that lined the road seemed to slumber, their windows like empty eyes staring back. The diner, a faded chrome beacon, was the only sign of life, its neon sign reading Eddie's Eats in crooked, handwritten script. Emily's skin prickled as she approached the diner, the hairs on the back of her neck standing on end. She had always been sensitive to the vibrations of a place, and Ravens Peak hummed with a dark energy, like a plucked guitar string. She pushed open the creaky door, and a bell above it let out a tired clang. Inside, the diner was a time capsule, its chrome and vinyl interior frozen in the 1950s. A figure, hunched over the counter, looked up as she entered. Eddie, the proprietor, she assumed, his eyes bloodshot, his face a topographic map of wrinkles. He nodded, a slow, knowing smile spreading across his face, as if he had been waiting just for her. "You must be Emily," he said, his voice like a rusty gate, as he wiped his hands on a greasy apron. "I've been expecting you. Rooms ready at the motel out back. You'll be wantin' to get settled before dinner." Emily's instincts twitched at the unsettling precision of his words, but she nodded, fatigue and curiosity getting the better of her. She took the key he offered, a heavy, old-fashioned affair with a faded plastic tag, and stepped back out into the fading light. The motel, a low, L-shaped building, seemed to lean in, as if it too were listening. Emily's skin crawled as she walked down the deserted corridor, the silence between her footsteps echoing like a scream. She slipped the key into the door of room 13, the number plate hanging crookedly, like a bad omen. Inside, the room was a time warp, the bedspread a riot of orange and yellow flowers, the air thick with the smell of stale smoke and disinfectant. Emily's gaze fell on a dusty, leather-bound book on the bedside table, its cover embossed with a symbol that seemed to shift, like a living thing, as she watched. A shiver coursed through her, and she knew, with a certainty that chilled her blood, that she was meant to find this place. This book, the symbol, a twisted serpentine thing, seemed to sear itself into her brain, as if it had been waiting patiently for her arrival. Emily's fingers trembled as she reached for the book, the cover creaking in protest as she opened it. The pages, yellowed and brittle, released a faint whisper of decay as she delved into the musty darkness within. The text, handwritten in a spidery script, seemed to writhe and twist on the page, like a living thing. Emily's eyes scanned the words, her mind struggling to comprehend the horrors that unfolded before her. Ravens Peak, it seemed, had a history, one of dark rituals and human sacrifices, of ancient powers that lurked just beyond the veil of reality. As she read on, the shadows in the room deepened, the air growing colder, heavier, until it seemed to vibrate with malevolent energy. Emily's heart raced, her breath coming in short gasps, as she turned the pages, devouring the terrible secrets that had been hidden for so long. The words began to blur, her vision tunneling, as if she were being pulled into the abyss itself. Suddenly, the lights flickered, died, plunging the room into darkness. Emily's scream was lost in the darkness, as the shadows coalesced, taking form, their presence crushing the air from her lungs. The symbol on the book's cover pulsed, alive, as the room seemed to contract, a terrible, ancient power stirring, awakening. From its slumber, Emily's eyes, wide with terror, strained to see into the darkness. As the air grew colder, the shadows deepening, like a living entity, she felt herself being drawn, inexorably, towards the symbol, its pulsing rhythm echoing through her very being. And then, a sound, like the rustling of dry leaves, or the whispers of the damned, began to build, a crescendo of dread that seemed to emanate from the book itself. The words on the pages, once mere ink and paper, now seemed to shift, rearranging themselves into a new, terrible message, one that spoke directly to her soul. "Welcome, Emily." The darkness seemed to whisper, the voice a sighing wind that caressed her skin, making her shudder. "We've been waiting. You've taken the first step into the shadows. Now, come closer. Let the darkness take you, and you shall see." Emily's scream, frozen in her throat, was drowned out by the cacophony of whispers, the words coalescing into a chant, a dark, orgiastic hymn that seemed to summon forth the very essence of the abyss. The symbol on the book's cover pulsed brighter, a cold, white light that seared her retina, as the shadows, like dark, living tendrils, began to wrap themselves around her, pulling her down into the abyss, and then everything went black. The darkness was absolute, a living, breathing entity that wrapped itself around her, a shroud of silence that suffocated all sound, all thought. Emily's consciousness, a flickering flame, threatened to extinguish, consumed by the void. But then, a spark, a glimmer of light, a vision that burst forth from the depths of her mind. A figure impossibly tall, its face a death's mask of bone and shadow, stood before her, its eyes blazing with an otherworldly intensity. The figure spoke, its voice a low, mournful sigh that seemed to carry on its breath the weight of eternity. "You have crossed the threshold, Emily. You have entered the realm of the forgotten, where the damned and the forsaken dwell. You shall see the secrets, hidden for centuries, and you shall be transformed, remade in the image of the shadows." As the figure spoke, the darkness began to recede, like a tide of night, revealing the room, transformed, rejuvenated. The walls, once drab and worn, now seemed to pulse with a dark, vital energy, as if the very fabric of reality had been rewoven, remade in the image of the abyss. The book, once a simple, leather-bound tome, now lay open on the bedside table, its pages rustling, whispering secrets to the wind. The symbol on the cover, once a simple, twisted design, had transformed, become a gateway, a portal to the very heart of the abyss. And Emily, her eyes aglow with an unholy light, her heart pounding with an otherworldly excitement, knew that she was no longer herself, that she had crossed the threshold into the realm of the shadows, where the damned and the forsaken dwelled. The figure, its presence still lingering, seemed to fade, dissolve, like mist in the morning sun. Emily's gaze, fixed on the book, seemed to bore into its pages, as if she could will the secrets forth, conjure them from the shadows. The words, once arcane, now seemed to shift, rearrange themselves, spelling out a new message, one that spoke directly to her soul. "The key to the abyss lies in the heart of Raven's Peak. Seek out the forgotten places, where the old ones whisper secrets to the wind." As she read, the room seemed to darken, the air thickening, like a palpable mist. The shadows, once banished, crept back, tendrils of darkness that wrapped themselves around her ankles, drawing her closer to the abyss. Emily's heart, pounding with an unholy excitement, seemed to drive her forward, compelling her to seek out the secrets, to unravel the mysteries of Raven's Peak. She rose, her movements automatic, as if driven by a force beyond her control. The room, once a prison, now seemed a gateway, a portal to the unknown. Emily's footsteps, echoing through the deserted corridors, seemed to resonate with the whispers of the damned, as she stepped out into the darkness to claim her inheritance, to unravel the secrets of the abyss.